Well, thank you to our friends at Array of Hope, and thank you to Father Christopher Mahar from the Diocese of Providence, who's here with us. Chris, great to be with you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Merry Christmas to you.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And you have come out recently in November, I think.
November 1st.
With this book. It's called Finding God in Suffering, and you might find it a little odd, perhaps, that we're talking about suffering just before Christmas, but sometimes I think we misunderstand suffering. Isn't that the case?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, suffering is a mystery. It is something that's not easy to grasp, but it's something that is easy to misunderstand. It's something that can throw us away from God, but also it can be something that draws us into a relationship with God when we remember that God took on our humanity and suffered for our sake out of love. That changes everything. And
I want people to know that you know what you're talking about, because you've had a very rich priesthood, and you continue to have a rich priesthood. You're pastor of St. Augustine Parish in the Diocese of Providence. You worked in the Vatican. You studied in Rome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up in Coventry, Rhode Island, was ordained for the Diocese of Providence in 2004. I served in 2 wonderful parish assignments before I was asked to do seminary formation work, first in Louvain as the vice rector of the Seminary of the American College, and then I spent 6 years as rector of the Seminary of Our Lady of Providence in Providence, Rhode Island, and that was a wonderful experience. And then I went to the Vatican for 5 years, and it's an absolute joy to be back as a pastor.
I hear they love you at St. Augustine.
I love them.
Yeah,
it's a great relationship.
It's mutual. Yeah,
it's wonderful.
And Christmas is coming, and despite that, people still ask the question. I think about my own sister who lost one of her children this fall. I think about the huge funeral that I had yesterday, and particularly at this time of year, people do ask that question: how could an all-loving God allow so many people to suffer? What do you say to that?
Well, I think first and foremost, we have to understand that there is no simple answer, that it's a great mystery that we won't fully understand in this life. But the Catechism of the Catholic Church says quite beautifully that the answer to the question of suffering is sort of contained in the entire Christian message. And so creation, the fall, the incarnation, the redemption, Jesus' passion and love for us on the cross, the resurrection, the formation of the church and the sending forth of the Holy Spirit, all of these things come into God's answer in response to why we're suffering and what He's doing about it. And I think it's important that we live our Christian faith and allow that mystery to be something that we're immersed in as the mercy of God touches us in the midst of our suffering.
So whenever we look to the cross, we receive the answer. But even when we look at the Christ child laying in the manger,
yes,
that's part of the answer too.
Correct. In His poverty, and there's no room for Him in the inn. There's this really sense of abandonment that He begins His life in. And it's right there. The cross begins at the crib and carries on through the passion. Would you say that there are aspects to our human suffering that we will never understand this side of heaven? I think there are. Yeah, there are aspects of it that are not fully graspable. I think we believe God is a mystery. We can't fully understand Him, but we can love Him. We can be loved by Him. And that's the heart of the mystery of suffering, is that God has come to reveal His love for us in the midst of the cross. Hey, what a great gift all of you in the Diocese of Providence received in Bishop Richard Henning. What a joy. He's the best. We love him. He's a fine man, a wonderful priest, and a very, very good bishop. He is indeed. We're very blessed. Happy. We are indeed blessed. Yeah, no suffering there. No suffering there, no. How about you? How have you come to accept suffering in your own personal life as a man of faith? I think sometimes maybe more easily, sometimes rather difficult, with great difficulty. So I think it depends on the circumstances. And John Paul II, in his apostolic letter, Salvifici Doloris, says that we want to ask the question why, that that's human, to begin that experience of suffering on the cross with the question of why. Lord, why are you doing this? Why is this happening? And only then do we begin to hear the response of God being present in our lives. And I think with me that's happened. I have questioned why. Why are you allowing this to happen? Only to discover that God is in the midst of it and helping me through it. So sometimes gradually, and sometimes with a little bit of difficulty, but always with faith. Great. Well, thank you for taking the ride up today. My pleasure. It's a busy time of year. You're a pastor of a parish, and I hope that your Christmas is a joyful one. And thank you, Bishop. And that to the people of St. Augustine Parish as well. Thank you so much, Bishop. Appreciate that. Merry Christmas. And where can people get a copy of
this very, very good book on finding God in suffering.
Thank you. You can find it on Amazon.com as well as Pauline Books and Media. It's on both of those websites, and it'll be in bookstores as well, wherever books are sold. Hopefully you can get this book.
So look for it. Finding God in Suffering. Father, so much. We appreciate your presence here.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.